Everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you're here, and if you're new to the channel, well, welcome to Motivation Suite with April. Well, I do hope this video finds you well, and as you can see from the title of today's video, we've got some deep diving to do. More or less, I want to just have a straight talk in regards to motivation. Now, motivation in its sense is a word that sometimes can have a very looming kind of effect or looming feeling. It seems to be something that you have to strive to have sometimes. And in my feeling, I can understand how someone would feel that motivation would have a certain sense of heavy when it comes to attaching it to a goal or an objective. And I thought maybe in today's conversation, we can kind of share some information, or I guess I'll be sharing some information, and maybe you'll be commenting down below for me and what your thoughts are when it comes to motivation. So according to the dictionary, Merriam-Webster's dictionary that is, motivation is described as a force or a stimulus, an influence. And I like to look at motivation in conjunction with that definition as the drive for action taking when it comes to doing whatever it is that I feel is necessary to accomplish. So when I look at motivation, I take it in, as you can say, kind of small little bites. So it keeps me, well, motivated when I'm going through certain tasks that I have to achieve, or certain goals or wants or desires that I have formulated for myself. And as we're in the newness of the new year, it's important for us to stay on some form of track, if you will, or some sort of focus, right? Now, of course, we want this focus and desire and drive to last throughout the year. So if we're setting ourselves up positively, right, on the right track in the beginning of the year, this can help as we go along through the rest of the months until we get to the end of the year and what I would call evaluation time. And that would be taking some type of inventory or account for all the things that we set aside for ourselves in the beginning of the year to try to accomplish or work towards, So talking about motivation, it's interesting, because I've heard some that feel like, motivation is kind of just, I don't want to say maybe a dirty word per se, but just something that's kind of nose stuck up at a little bit. And it's interesting because when you look at the definition of motivation, well, motivation doesn't necessarily, well, it doesn't at all have any type of onus of feeling attached to that. You see what I mean is that whenever you have a goal that's set up in play, motivation is one that allows you to get to that goal by any means necessary. Okay, so that being said, sometimes you're going to be happy about what you need to do to carry on to the task or objective to that goal. Sometimes you're not going to be. Sometimes motivation may be fleeting to you. And that's an interesting concept there. Let's go back to that. Motivation can be fleeting. Now, I do agree with that. Sometimes motivation does come and go. The important thing is to stay on track. So if the important thing is to stay on track, wouldn't it be beneficial to maybe possibly look at a different angle from the concept of motivation? Maybe we can look at motivation instead of using the term fleeting. Maybe we can look at the word motivation as flexible. Maybe flexible added with adaptable. Because there's times when we just may not feel the umph of wanting to take care of something that needs to be handled and done, that we know that we need to take care of, right? And there could be different reasons for this. This could be simply pureness of just tired and just have done so much already and you just need a break. Or this could be from combating a concept of fear about accomplishing that goal. Either way, you have to assess which one is right for you in the sense that what you identify that situation to be. And let's say, it's not rocket science, right? these are things that you're probably going to assess pretty quickly, and you already know what level that you are on. So if that being the case, then you want to handle those situations in a different kind of manner. And I guess the reason why I feel like this was such an interesting concept to get a little bit deeper in when it came to motivation is because I've been hearing a lot over the last few months, and naturally there has been quite a bit of situations, we'll just keep it at that, that we've all had dealt with as a country, as a nation, as a whole, as a people, okay? And understanding that those things happened and those things obviously affected our mood. Of course they did, right? At the very least, of course they did. But what I don't want, I know even for myself, is to look at motivation as just one more hurdle that I have to kind of get over in order to get to my task. Because sometimes it's hard enough, right, to do what you need to do to get to whatever that goal is. So let's take an easy example. Fitness, okay? Tons of us are starting fitness journeys. Tons of us are revamping our fitness journeys, if you will, because we have a goal, right? And that goal could be a number of things. One could be an actual ideal weight. One can be, I don't know, just the way you feel. Maybe one could be you just want to make sure that you fit in a certain type of size for outfits and such. Doesn't necessarily have to mean that your goal weight has to be minus double-digit numbers. Maybe just want to lose a few inches. Maybe just want to bulk up on that muscle. Whatever it is, you know, there is a sense of obligation to a goal once you've established it and once you have taken the thought to put things in place in order to obtain that objective, right? And so sometimes, well, let's just face it, you know, I've heard a couple things about motivation in the sense that it's like, oh gosh, I just feel like I'm just not motivated to do it. Ugh. And it always seems to come with that kind of to it. And I get it, right? We're all humans and we have our moments. But isn't it nice to look at motivation as less of a hurdle or triumph that you have to get through and more as a tool to use in your next element or next objective or action taking purpose that you've got going on? Wouldn't it just be easier to say that, but it be more of a positive tone attached to it versus nearing on the negative side, where it's like you have to push through another level? Because sometimes your objectives and your goals, such as i.e. losing weight or a fitness journey, it's hard enough as it is in some aspects, depending on what your goal is, right? So as I've shared in videos prior, when you're looking at goals and tasks, and also in the video of resolutions, when you're taking a look at what it is that you want to do, you want to make sure that these things are done in a way that you can at least get to the starting mat and keep moving forward, right? You don't want to put things in there, barriers in there, if you will, to prevent you from getting to that next step or making it so immeasurably hard for you that you just can't get there, right? That's not really the goal of it, is it? So I just think that it's important that we look at motivation as not just a hurdle to get through to the next step, or just because one day you're not feeling up to it, whether you're tired or whatever the case may be, not to look at it as such a thing that you just gotta get over, you know? Because you could use motivation as a simple tool. Use it as flexibility. Really what we're talking about here is mindset change. Really what we're talking about here is positive dialogue and how that can fuel you in a way that makes it a much more pleasant next step to take. You see, because when you are in that state of where it's just one more thing, and now don't get me wrong, for some people, fine. If that's how you work best, then that's how you work best, right? For some, they may take it and twist it around and say, hey, well, you know what? I may not be motivated, but I'm going to do it anyways because I know I got to get out there and do it. Well, that's interesting because I still see that as motivation, because you're motivated to do something, because the concept of motivation does not attach a feeling to it. If you are able to be happy and gleeful at all times when you're pursuing goals and such, the more power to you, the greater to the cause that is. But there are many opportunities in life and many situations or challenges, if you will. Notice I'm using opportunities because that's a better way of saying it. But there's obviously issues that you may encounter while you're going through tackling whatever that journey is or that goal is. And when you go through those steps, there may be also things that are added into the mix that, well, let's say you don't have any control over. But then you got to make yourself in a position, if you want to continue with that goal, is staying adaptable. So that means moving with the flow of things, adjusting things in a way that you make it easier for you to actually move to that next step. And that's why I say the flexibility element, which challenges your mind or gives you an opportunity to look at different ways to accomplish a specific task, then I think that it's so much all the better when you look at motivation as not such this heavy cloud that's just another thing to get through or something you got to pump yourself up to have, because inspiration already does that for you, right? Inspiration is that pump up. It's that idea that puts out there that says, this is what I want to do. This is how I see I can do X, Y, and Z. And motivation is that fuel that drives you through the steps that you need to take. So use motivation as a tool, because that really is what it is. And again, like I say, motivation does not have a feeling attached to it. It doesn't require you to be jumping up and down and having handstands and cartwheels and flip overs and such. It just requires you to move. It requires you to do action. And if you can focus on doing the action and less on maybe sometimes how you feel about doing the action, you find yourself maybe kind of going through that process a little bit easier. So back to the example of our fitness journey. Now, of course, you may have one day that you are focusing on abs, and the second day you're going to be focusing on legs, and maybe the third day you're focusing on some type of cardio and other element, arms, let's just say. And maybe after the first day, after you did those killer legs, you're just done with it, right? And maybe the next day you're not going to be interested in doing some abs. So you may look at the fact that motivation, which your motivation is to actually attain whatever goal it is at the end of the road for what your fitness effort is, you want to look at that as, oh my goodness, what happens if I wake up the next morning and then, I gotta get up and I gotta do these abs and oh my gosh, I don't feel like it, I'm in so much pain. You see what that is? That's like such a downed energy, right? And it doesn't mean that, we don't all suffer from that from time to time. We're human. I think the goal here, if you will, or my thought here is trying to use that energy and flipping it a little bit so it's not so intense and doesn't put you in a position of potentially missing 2 days, then 3 days, then quitting altogether. So I just say maybe we look at motivation in 2021 and beyond in a different light. Maybe not so much as this heavy burden that we have to rise up to every day or for every moment of what you're trying to achieve, but maybe looking at it as a tool to use to kind of navigate and float your way through whatever it is that you're trying to do. I guess that's really why I like that term better about motivation being flexible and adaptable versus just fleeting, because we know that it's fleeting. We know that it can come and go, but maybe a new motivation can arise from a fleeting one, right? But just remembering, if you feel like your motivation is fleeting and fading away, that you got to look and remember what your why is, because that's what's going to keep you on track. Your why. You have to remember what you're doing this for, and understand if you are in a position where you are obtaining a goal, doing an objective such as fitness or any other major goal you got going on, or even small goal. If you need to take a step back and rest, then do so. It's okay. It's all right to take a moment, to take a breath, and you don't have to feel guilty about that. And that's why I think this is so helpful when you use motivation as a tool of flexibility, because, rather than just having that overarching heavy feeling, you could just really just say, I'm just taking a flex day. And see how light that felt, just the way I just said that. It's just lighter. It's just easier. It's less burdensome. And so I think that it's really interesting when we are talking about what are the actions we need to take, that we look at how we can go about making those actions easier for us to achieve, easier for us to accomplish, and positive attitude and mantras that really bring out the best and your thought process to move forward are always going to be the better way to go. It just is. And so I don't say this to say, be overly critical of yourself if one day you wake up, or however many days you wake up and you feel that kind of ugh. What I just say is maybe you take that ugh and just kind of flip it just a little bit and make it more flexible. Make it more flex. Easy. It's okay. So I skip a day. Call it a treat day. Call it something other than ugh. So I just really thought that would be something to really take a little bit extra focus on, because as we are in the early parts of this year, there are so many things that a lot of us are trying to achieve, and may be no different than any other year prior. It may not be so much different than any year from this point on, but we've been through a lot in 2020, and I think there's a lot for us in a lot of ways for different things, whatever that is, to make up for something, whatever that is. And we always need things to look forward to, things to work towards, things to make us, put us in a place, if you will, that is in a direction of forward movement and getting past some of those things that we've had to deal with, and looking at positive ways to kind of get through those things and accomplishing new goals, giving us things to simply be excited about. So I hope that in this video today that you have taken something from the concept of how motivation can really be used as a helpful tool, and one that doesn't have to be such a burdensome cloud over you, and one you don't have to feel you have to live up to, right? Because if you're already inspired to do something, you've already come to the table. You've already risen to the level that you need to rise to get yourself in a forward movement. That's the beauty of inspiration. Sometimes it doesn't really take much, just a spark. So when you look at it from that perspective, I hope that it will just lighten the load a little bit, because doing whatever objectives or goals that you have already can already be some that could be complex and take quite a bit out of you. And you really don't need to add more conflict and more undue stress, if you will, to a situation that you're already trying to achieve at. Just a helpful tip, and just hopefully one that, that you'll see some value in. Well, everybody, I guess that does it for today's video. I am so glad that you were here to join me for some time to kind of just chat away a little bit about something I think is really helpful and important for all of us to remember, that motivation is our friend and it will remain our friend, and we need to utilize that tool as we would all tools that help us get to the next step, right? So why not be able to look at motivation that way? And I just think it's just helpful in that manner. So I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and I really do hope that you found some helpful element to today's video, something that you could take along with you, or just keep in the back of your mind whenever you feel that moment coming along. And just remember that take it a little easy. Be kind to yourself. It's okay. There's no reason to feel extra about something that's already extra. So I think that about does it for today. I do hope that you have a great rest of the week, and I do hope you enjoy the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.